Hello, my dear students. Today, I, Harshita Mishra, will teach you the part number 3 of chapter number 2. That is in this chapter of sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Today, we'll study about the pistil, megasporangium, and megasporogenesis. So, first of all, as previously we have learned the structure, we have seen the structure of anther, we have gone to the structure of microsporangium, and similarly, we'll study the female reproductive part of the flower and how the development of the embryo sac takes place. We'll study about that in this very part of chapter number 2. So in this very part, we'll talk about the structure of the pistil. That is, we'll talk about the megasporangium, about ovule, and the how the development of this female gametophyte takes place about megasporogenesis. So first of all, let's see the structure of the pistil. Means we'll study the structure of the female part of the flower, which is termed as the gynoecium, and it consists of, if this gynoecium consists of the single pistil, it is termed as monocarpellary, and if more than one pistil is found, then that's termed to be polycarpellary. These are some of the terminologies that are to be used during the study of this chapter. So remember these terminologies. If somebody is talking about monocarpellary, what does this mean? If somebody is talking about polycarpellary, what does this mean? So the conditions of monocarpellary means of single pistil, and if more than one pistil, termed as polycarpellary. And if these are found to be fused, these are found to be in a fused condition, means if the pistil is found to be fused with the carpels, it is termed as syncarpous. But when the pistils are free from the carpels, means they are not attached to the carpels at all, then these are termed as free apocarpus. So these are the termed when they are found to be fused, and when they are not found to be fused, means they are found in the free state, they are termed as apocarpus. Now if I talk about a single pistil, if I am talking about, this is a dissected female part of the flower taken from the taken from Hibiscus rosa sinensis, and this a single pistil comprises of the three parts: stigma, style, and the basal part, which is termed as the ovary. And this part, stigma, style, and ovary, this ovary, stigma, which is the receptive part of the which is the receptive part of the female flower, receives the pollen grain. Style, which is a link between stigma and ovary, means it carries away the pollen grain from stigma to the ovary, and from here the development of the development or the fertilization takes place. This is the place with ovary, which is the place where the development and the fertilization takes place. And the placenta is located inside the ovarian cavity. You will find those placentas located inside the ovarian cavity, and inside this ovary you will find several ovarian cavities, means locules, and those locules contains ovules. And the megasporangium arises from the megasporangium, that is ovules, and these arises from the placenta. Though we'll study about the structure of the ovule in the later slides, in our later slides. And I have already told you about the stigma, means it is the receptive part of for the pollen grain. Style, which is a pathway, or you can say a passage for the pollen grains to travel. And ovary, this is the bulged basal part containing the placenta, that is located inside the ovarian locule, which is called the cavity. And the placenta contains the megasporangium or the ovules. This is all about the pistil. This is a stigma. This is the female part of the flower. This is a receptive part which will receive the pollen. Stigma. Now this is your style, connecting stigma from the ovary, and this is the basal part called the ovary, containing several locules. You can see here, these are the locules. These are the locules, and these are connected to the placenta, and from the placenta this megasporangium arises, or this contains the megasporangium or the ovules, and which will lead to the formation of the embryo sac. Now, if I talk about the structure of megasporangium, the ovule is attached to the placenta by the funicle. The junction of the ovule and the funicle is called the hilum. Let's see the structure. Let's see the structure of this megasporangium, means structure of a ovule. This ovule, if you see, this is attached to, this is ovule is attached to the structure which is called as the placenta from each other, and this placenta is further attached with the funicle, which is a funicle which attaches it to the hilum. Okay, this funicle and hilum, the junction of the ovule and the funicle is called as hilum, and this will found somewhat here, from where the funicle and placenta meet point or junction is termed as hilum. And each ovule has the somewhat coverings, outer coverings and inner coverings, which is termed as integuments, which provides the protection to the developing ovule. And the ovules, these integuments are not found at the micropillar end. You will not found the coverings around the micropillar end. The micropillar end is here, and the end that is opposite to the micropillar end is termed as the chalazal end, and this end is the basal end of the ovule, and towards this basal end we'll find the antipodal cells. I'll talk about later in this very part also. And if we talk about the nucellus, these are the cells around the embryo sac. These are the cells around the embryo sac, nucellar cells, which will lead to the formation of the ovule or the embryo sac, means female gametophyte. And these female gametophyte will later on, this is a typical structure of an anatropous ovule, and these nucellar cells, when they will lead to the formation of the embryo sac, it will comprise of antipodal cells, 3 antipodal cells, and 3 micropillar cells, and the mid secondary nucleus. This antipodal cells are present towards the chalazal end, means these comprises of the 3 equal sized cells. And if we talk about the micropillar end, it comprises of a one bigger cell which is called the egg cell, and the 2 smaller synergids surrounding it, and a middle one which is called as the polar nuclei or the secondary nucleus. So this is all about a structure of megasporangium, means a structure of a ovule, typical structure of an anatropous ovule. Study how this embryo sac development takes place, means how this female gametophyte development takes place. So as we have learned there in the microsporogenesis, that one of these some of these sporogenous cells or all these sporogenous cells are capable of undergoing mitosis, and those mitosis will lead to the formation of microspore mother cells, and each of those microspore mother cells later convert into the microspore tetrads, and then from microspore tetrads they convert into the pollen grain. So similarly here also there is difference, that in that structure of anther wall structure, we have found that the sporogenous cells inside the anther walls are capable of converting into microspore mother cells. And here if we found those cells of the nucellus, only one cell of the nucellar will convert into an archisporial cell, and that cell will later on will convert into the cell, one of the nucellar cell which is located towards the micropillar region, will differentiate into the megaspore mother cell. And in there we have learned about that each and every cell of the sporogenous tissues are are capable of converting into or differentiating into microspore mother cells, but here it is different. Only one, remember, only one of the nucellar cell will convert into megaspore mother cells. Now this megaspore mother cell will become somewhat larger in size and will contain dense cytoplasm, and now the nucleus will become somewhat prominent. Now what happens from here, it will undergo meiosis, that cell will undergo meiosis, and it will form 4 haploid cells which is called as microspore tetrad. Always remember, the microspore tetrads are always it has been written as megaspore tetrad, sorry. So megaspore tetradal arrangement is always linear arrangement has been, wait a second, um, these microspore tetrads, how they are arranged, they are always found to be arranged in most of the cases of angiospermic plants, they are found to be arranged linearly. Okay, so linear arrangement is more prominent to be found in the angiospermic plants of the angiospermic plants, and those are the megaspore arranged are always found, most of them most of the time they are found to be linear. And in that tetrad linear arrangement, and that linear arrangement, the three megaspores out of the four megaspores that are formed will degenerate, and only one of those megaspore which is not degenerated will become the functional. So these are some of the very important points that are to be remembered. So this point is the most important point that you need to remember, that out of those four megaspores, only the one megaspores will become functional and rest of them will degenerate. This is a somewhat blurred flow chart, but let me clear you here. See here, in what happens in this steps of the megasporogenesis, as I have told you earlier there, that one of the nuclear cell which is towards the nuclear cell of that is present towards the micropylar end will mature and differentiate into megaspore mother cell. This is the nuclear cell, one nuclear cell, remember, one nuclear cell. And what will be the ploidy here? Right now the ploidy will be diploid, and this nuclear cell, one of the nuclear cell will differentiate into megaspore mother cell. Remember, megaspore mother cell, you can write here MMC also, and this will also remain what? Diploid, because only differentiation is taking place, no as such division has been taking place here. Now these megaspore mother cells will undergo a meiosis to form megaspore, and this step is known as megasporogenesis, and the four megaspores will form, and those megaspores will be haploid in number, and the megaspores will be arranged in such an arrangement, linearly arranged. They will be arranged such, like in a linear arrangement. So these are all the four megaspores arranged linearly, and out of these tetrads, three will degenerate and only one, this one, will be the functional megaspore, and this will lead to the formation of your embryo sac, that will be the female gametophyte. And the what will be the ploidy? The ploidy will be N here. Okay, each and every cells inside the embryo sac will be haploid in number. So remember always that the four megaspore formed, only the only the one megaspore remain functional, and rest of then the three megaspores will degenerate. Now this is somewhat more generalized figure that will make you more clear about megasporogenesis. See here, as we have talked about, as I have told you, that one of the nuclear cells towards the micropylar end will mature, and that it will mature means the cytoplasm will become more dense, and now it will be called as primary archisporial cell. Okay, you can also call this ovule primordium here. Okay, when the cells become somewhat mature of the nuclear cells, and that cell will now will start developing integuments, and those integuments will be outer and inner integuments. First of all, it will lead to the formation of primary parietal cell. Archegonial cell will now divide into two, primary parietal cell and sporogenous cells. So those parietal cells, primary parietal cells will lead to the formation of what? These primary parietal cell will lead to the formation of your the several these parietal cell will lead to the formation of your several layers of the cells. Okay, and those layers of the cells will form layers of cells, and number of cells will increase in this by the primary parietal cells. Okay, after that, this primary after this now the sporogenous cells will sporogenous cells will lead to the formation of microspore mother cells, and those microspore mother cells, see here, these are the haploid megaspores. These are the haploid, this is the primary parietal cell, and this is haploid megaspores. These primary parietal cell will form several integuments and several structures of the ovule, and this will also lead to the formation of four haploid megaspores. These four haploid megaspores are 1, 2, 3 and 4. So out of these three, if you come to see these figure number D, so you will find here these three megaspores degenerating and only one remains functional. Now this will undergo several mitotic divisions and will lead to the formation of, see here, first it will convert into 2, then from 2 to 4, 4 to 8. And now the arrangement of this embryo sac will takes place, means 3 will go towards the basal and 3 will toward here this is the basal shown, means antipodal cells, means this is your chalazal end, and this is your egg apparatus, means here is the micropillar end. Okay, micropillar end, and this is the secondary nucleus. So it is an 8-celled 8, it is an typical anatropous ovule. This is a typical anatropous ovule structure. So this is all about how the megasporogenesis takes place. See, if we talk about the structure of the female gametophyte, so it is the female gametophyte, I have already told you, it is also called as the embryo sac, and in angiosperm it mostly develops the 7-celled 8-nucleate structure I am previously telling you about. But here let me tell you that in most of the most advanced type of the ovule that is found here in the angiospermic plant is the anatropous ovule, which is most advanced type of the ovule, and it is a 7-celled and 8-nucleate structure. How it is 7-celled? Let's count cells. This is 1, 2, 3 antipodal cell, and this is 1 cell if we talk about 4, 5, 6 and 7. This is a 7-celled, this is a 7-celled and 8-nucleate structure. Now if you count about the nucleus, this is 1 nucleus, this is 2, this is 3 and 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So this is a 7-celled and 8-nucleate structure, typical structure of an anatropous ovule, which is the most advanced type of the ovule found in the angiospermic plants. It consists of 3 antipodal cells. Where will be the 3 antipodal cells? This is the 3 antipodal cell, will be found towards the chalazal end, and this is the synergids and egg cells together called as egg apparatus. Okay, egg apparatus will be found towards the micropillar end, and the these egg cells are surrounded by the 2 synergids. This is the egg cell and will be surrounded by 2 synergids, and this is the polar nuclei found in the middle of the embryo sac. This is the structure of the female gametophyte. There are several type of the ovules found. You have to remember some of them by a name, like monosporic and bisporic and tetrasporic. The most common and most prominent type of the angiospermic ovule is the anatropous ovule. So need not to worry about all these structures. This is all the structures of the megaspore shown here, means on the basis of the number of the cells and the nucleus. Like we have seen there, 7-celled 8-nucleate structure, and similarly there are, on the basis of those numbers, there are several types of the ovules found here. This is also a type of the ovules, and those ovules are orthotropous, campylotropous, anatropous, amphitropous, hemianatropous and circinotropous, depending upon the variety of the, depending upon the species, depending upon the families of the plants. And angiospermic plants has a diverse families, and those families comprises of different types of the ovules, but need not to go through this very much. You just remember this in your NCERT about anatropous ovule only. This now let's see some difference between megasporangium and microsporangium. A sporangium that develops only megaspores are termed as megasporangium. A sporangium that develops only microspores are microsporangium. Second point, it produces female gametes or megaspores. It produces male gametes or microspores. Called the ovule in the flowering plant, called the anther in the male, called in the anther in the flowering plant, produces large rounded gametes or spores, and it produces small, sometimes motile gametes. This is all about